Hello everyone. In today's lesson we are going to be talking about percentages. We're going to start off by defining what percentages are and then talking about how we use them basically. So first of all, what are percentages? We have here written 65%, 20%, 3%, 131%. What do these mean? Percentages are basically fractions. They are fractions that always have a denominator of 100. So in this case of 65%, it's basically 65 over 100. In the case of 20%, it is 20 over 100. In the case of 3%, it's 3 over 100. And 131% is 131 over 100. And yes, I can have percentages that are more than 100. It basically just means that I have more than one whole. Now, since they are fractions, uh, based on what we know about fractions up until now, you can guess that they help us understand how much of something we have or don't have or want or any of that stuff. So basically part of a whole, but only if that whole had 100 pieces. Now, that's not always the case. So, for example, we might be 15 people trying to decide what we want to eat. And maybe we say that 30% of them vote to go out and eat. 30% of 15 is a number that I can find. But how do I do that? Let's see some problems where we have a number and we want to find the percent of that number. So in this first problem, we say that I made 40 cookies. I gave 25% to my neighbor. How many cookies did I give my neighbor? So basically what we want to find is 25% of 40, because that's how much we gave the neighbor. As we said just now, 25%, this is the percent symbol, this symbol right here, can be turned into a fraction. So that fraction would be 25 over 100. So I want to find 25 100ths of 40. Wait. I want to find 25 100ths of 40. We did problems like these in third and fourth grade. Basically what we can do here is instead of, I can just write times. And we can do 25 100ths times 40. This is a multiplication that we learned how to do when we were doing fractions. What we would do is basically say that the first part would be, I would multiply the numerator with the whole number. So 25 times 40. And the denominator would just stay the same. So it would just be 100. Okay? 25, these two are equal. 25 times 40 is 1,000 over 100. The numerator, we said, stays the same. And now, if you remember, we have said many times that fractions are basically division. So, in this case, what I would have to do is 1,000 divided by 100. 1,000 divided by 100 is 10. So basically what we're saying here is that 25% of 40 is 10, or as my answer should be written, 10 is 25% of 40. And there's my answer right there. This is how I find the percent of a number. Now let's do some exercises where we want to find the percent of a number. We don't have to write these down as problems. We're just going to find the percent of a number. So in the first problem, I want to find 20% of 30. Then we want to find 35% of 400. And then we want to find 29% of 76. Let's talk about each of these. In the first case, we have 20% of 30. So we said that 20% can be written as 20 over 30. Let's write that as a fraction. We would say 20, sorry, I said over 30. I meant over 100. 20 over 100. We said instead of, we can put in times. So times 30. So we have here 20 100ths times 30. This would be, I can do 20 times 30, which makes 600 over 100. And here we have a fraction, which basically, again, is division. So this is like saying 600 divided by 100, which makes 6. Okay, so I would say that 6 is 20% of 30. Let's write that down as an answer. 6 is 20% of 30, and that's my answer. Next, we want to find 35% of 400. Again, 35% turned into a fraction would be 35 over 100. Instead of, I'm going to put in times 400. Let's do 35 times 400. 35 times 400. 4 times 35 makes 140 with 2 more zeros at the end, so that's going to be 14,000 over 100. Again, this is a division. 14,000 divided by 100, which makes 140. Quick way to do that would be, just like here, we can say, I'm just going to cross these zeros out. And here, we're going to cross these zeros out, making 140. So my answer should be 140 is 35% of 400. Next, and here is where it gets a little tricky. We want to find 29% of 76. So let's do what we've been doing up until now. 29 over 100 times 76. In this case, I would need to do 29 times 76, which makes 2,204. Over 100. Here, I don't have zeros to cross out, so I can't do what I did in the previous examples. But we can still do this division. if I had 2,204 divided by 100, as we learned from third grade, this would be 22.04. So, in this case, my answer needs to be that 22.04 is 29% of 76. So as you can see, it might get a little tricky, but this formula still helped us out. Turn the percentage into a fraction and then multiply it by the whole. Next up, I've written some problems that I would like for you to try and solve on your own. Now, how are we going to do that? You are going to pause the video, write these problems down on a piece of paper or your notebook, and then try and solve them on your own. Once you finish, or if you find them too difficult, then you can unpause the video and you can see how we're supposed to solve them. Okay? So, pause the video and try and solve them on your own in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if you're back, that means that you either solved them or tried to solve them. So let's solve them together and see how they're supposed to be solved. In the first one, we want to find 50% of 9. So again, I turn 50% into a fraction, and this would be 50 over 100 times 9. I do 50 times 9 makes 450 over 100. 450 over 100 makes 4.5. My full answer should be 4.5 is 50% of 9. Let's move this up a little bit so it's not in the way. Okay, there we go. Next up, we want to find 99% of 60. So let's go. 99, oh, sorry. 99 over 100 times 60. 99 times 60 makes, let's think about this for a second, 5,940 over 100. This would be equal to, if I did 5,940 divided by 100, this would be equal to 59.4. So my answer should be that 59.4 is 99% of 60. Also, let's move this up a bit so it's not in the way. Next, we want to find 148% of 20. So 148 over 100 times 20. 148 times 20 would give me 296 with a 0, so 2,960. Yeah, over 100. And if I did 2,960 divided by 100, I'd get 29.6. So my answer should be 29.6 is 148% of 20. That's all for today. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.